Our guest today is Taylor Dayne. Taylor Dayne is an icon, a pop diva. She dominated the airways in the 80s and 90s. She's an American singer, songwriter, and actress. She rose to fame in 1987 after her debut single, Tell It to My Heart. Dayne achieved 6 additional US top 10 singles, including Love Will Lead You Back, Prove Your Love, and I'll Always Love You. Taylor has sold over 75 million albums and singles worldwide, earned 3 Grammy nominations, an American Music Award, multiple New York Music Awards, and she received New York Music Hall of Fame honors and ranked as the number 18 female dance artist of all time by Rolling Stone magazine. Damn, that's great. Welcome to the show, Taylor. Welcome to Yentas in the City.
Thank you. Thank you for the intro. What a beautiful time.
Well, it's
Hi, Yentas.
Hi. Taylor, thank you so much for coming in. I don't know if you know, Karen and I are friends for over 36 years.
Amazing.
And in the late 80s, I just got here from Israel, and I used to sit in the car with her, and I would drive, and she would sing Tell It to My Heart. And, I couldn't sing it because I was like, you can't sing it ESL style. So, I would just dance in the car. And I know that one of Karen's dream was to sing the song with you. She kept on telling me that in the car. Can you imagine me singing with Taylor? So do you mind, before we start the interview, to sing some of the lyrics with Karen?
Not at all. You know the song, Karen?
I have the song. Oh my God, I'm ready. I've been practicing. Everybody who I could get to listen to me has been listening.
Okay, do you want to start at the verse or just the chorus?
No, from the beginning.
Okay, from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready? 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, go.
I feel the night explode when we're together. Emotional overload in the heat of pleasure.
Take me into your arms. Never let me go.
Oh, I love
Tonight
I really need
to know. Tell it to my heart. Tell me you're the only one. Is it really love or just a game? Tell it to my heart. I can feel my body rock. Every time you call my name.
Yeah. Now she can check it off her bucket list. You owe me, Karen. You owe me.
I owe you and Taylor. Thank you for that. That was amazing. I think now I probably need to keep my day job as a therapist, though.
Well, this is our version of carpool karaoke. You go, baby. Go. We're going to call this, I don't know what we can call it, but by the end of the show, we'll know what our karaoke.
We're going to name it. Taylor, we're going to start, and we can't start without talking about your book, your autobiography, Tell It to My Heart, How I Lost My Shit and Conquered My Fear. Yes, I love that book. And Found My Voice. The book starts out by talking about your early life growing up in a challenging Long Island home.
Yep.
And you talk about how this contributed to you finding your inner voice. Just for our listeners and followers, the book was on the bestsellers list on Amazon for several weeks. You have to get it. It's an excellent book to read, especially for women.
Well, as we're all Jewish here, we all grew up, my parents were first generation Holocaust surviving children. They were very challenged. It was just very difficult. Struggle was a big word in our household growing up. And it was 2 people that met at 19, 20. My father was 21. He just got back from the Korean War. My mom and him got together, and they were really just raising each other, being each other's parents and each other's foundation and family. And they had 3 children. So there was a lot of, the word struggle was very painful in the home for them, to find a family, to have a family. My mother was an only child, and they moved, they lived in the Bronx. Her mother, who was a seamstress, that came from Poland. So there's, our parents, even some of us have, you know, I understand so much more now as a parent and as an adult, but as a child, you don't understand these feelings, and yet you want to. What music has done for me, how I found my voice was at a very young age. You know, my parents were avid theater goers and loved music, and they took me to the city often as with my family, and they exposed us to the arts. So one thing, I was very exposed to the arts culturally. Went to the theater a lot, and sometimes it was very off Broadway because they couldn't afford much more. But in some of those little shitholes, we saw some of the most incredible theater and some of the most incredible music. And some of that would have been Ain't Misbehaving, seeing Irene Cara. But my voice was this thing, so there was a lot of anger in the home, a lot of rage. My father was very aggressive that way and angry. And took it out at home and took it out on my mom and my older brother primarily. But the house itself had a lot going on. But he loved as deeply as he was angry. But the thing that I took away from it was, you know, I kept everything inside. It wasn't a safe environment to share your thoughts and your feelings. Just trust me on that. It went here. So when I first got a radio, the first thing I heard, which is today, means so much because today is Stevie Wonder's birthday, 70 years old today.
Oh, wow.
One of the greatest artists we'll ever know, a living legend, icon, incredible. Anyway, the first song I ever heard was My Sharia Moore on my little transistor radio. And I was 4 or 5 years old, and I just heard this voice, and it was beautiful, and it was colorful, and I saw colors, and I was alone in my room. I was always by myself, you know, and I found a friend. I found someplace safe, and yet I said, this person, this looks good. This sounds good. I bet you their life is amazing. I bet you they're living great. And I just started saying, I'm going to be a rock and roll singer. I didn't know that there was pop, rock, soul, whatever it meant to me. It was music would save my life. And my ear was tuned to it, and I just mimicked every artist I could think of on the radio and continued that way. And I had solos by kindergarten and first grade.
Wow. Wow.
But this is like a kid with the basketball. You understand? Like,
Right.
this is my 10,000 hours. I'm a true outlier. Like, this is what I spent 10,000 hours doing, perfecting, and then understanding the art of it. My voice has become a tool that has gifted me. And yet, you know, it's also something that I understand I must take care of, right? The wellness is a very important part of it. So these are the things.
Funny that you mentioned an outliner book, because I read it. It's excellent. My daughter actually was in medical school. She read it when she was in medical school, and she gave it to me. I loved it. Everybody should read that book also.
Fascinating, brilliant. And if you know professional athletes, if you know people in the professions, the greats of the greats, you know, from Bill Gates to anybody, where they're superior, you know, where they beat the odds, you know, and they've there's a reason. There's amount of time where maybe you don't see it, but they maybe as a child, what they did was they just spent the hours. They just were obsessed with it.
And excellent. Yes, I loved it too.
Great. You know, in 2016, you did TED Talk, and that spurred your memoir. By the way, the TED Talk, I saw it. It was phenomenal, your TED Talk. And I wanted to know, how was that experience for you to do the TED Talk?
Right before, so about 6 months prior to that, it was a 6 months preparation. So it was one of the most daunting challenges. You had Elizabeth Lesser there, you had Ashley Judd, you had women that started the Me Too movement. There was just an incredible array of women. This was TED Women in San Francisco. It was their, I think their second. It was phenomenal experience once there. It was very daunting. I prepared for a lot of shows in my lifetime and events. This was so challenging because some people do read off notes and read off cards, but it's very rare there. You're really memorizing and you're really doing yourself. This is a real internal dialogue going on, but not even that. When we were in rehearsal and blocking and everything, we started editing, and then we started working, you know, editing some of the video, you know, monologue, which you saw behind me, which you don't really have a lot of visual there. You're really just concentrated on the talk itself. So it was just, I was like, and now I got to change this up and memorize this like this in another 10 minutes. And welcome back to your panic attacks. That's what I was like saying. But I have to just tell you, the book is, the preface was actually doing a TED Talk. I had worked with a, who I call my book mentor, Linda Syverson, who's amazing. I went to a writing retreat with her about 6 months prior to that. So let's just say it took between the time she said, you're going to go do TED Talk before you release a book, because a book is going to take you 2 years to write, Taylor, and it's going to take you 2 years to prepare and publish, and just more and more, if not. And she goes, but people need to hear your story now and need to hear your voice now. And she goes, and I'm going to talk to so-and-so about you doing a TED Talk. And no sooner did she say that, and then the two of us were on the stage within. So that, and we prepared about 6 months. So to tell you the experience was unreal and surreal, and who's in that audience was quite, I mean, it's quite a powerful room. Mm-hmm. That's just who's sitting there physically. Never mind the network and the streaming. It's enormous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Taylor, you are a very, very strong woman. I'm telling you, I admire you. And what I admire the most is that you get the rawness and the truth in your book. If I could say anything about your book, it's that it was very raw and very true. In your book, your book allows you to show the backstory, like working with Michael Jackson and Prince. Can you talk about how it was like to tour with Michael Jackson in the 80s? And what was it like? Also, can you?
I think it was like 89, so it was the bad tour. It was 89, and I was my record was released in 88, right? So 87, 88. So I was a huge star based off 1 and 2 songs. And then you have Michael Jackson, who's Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Okay, so let's say I was 23. So let's say he was 33 and had already, how many records, I think about everything from the Jackson. I mean, he changed the landscape of how we look at entertainment live. And that's why, Madonna ended up hiring his management, whoever did the Victory Tour, which was the Jacksons tour. They were doing stadiums, and this was stadium shows. And literally, as I write in the book, there's this sound, like when you go to the Coliseum, the roar of lions, there's just that arena sound. And I'd walk out there, and you don't just walk onto the stage. There's ramps, you have to walk on these big, huge things that are created and made, and it takes 2 days for crew to build and 2 days to take apart. And he only did 2 shows a week. So imagine, like, while we're off, Michael's out with, the King of Monaco and the King of France. He was already like with Elizabeth Taylor land. It was surreal.
Wow.
And I'm just this beginning artist watching this and going in private jets and seeing the world. And yet twice a week I went out and I opened up for Michael Jackson in the biggest show in the world. And it was literally, I crapped my pants. Because people are is a sea of people. There's a sea of,
wow.
It's the sound. And then of course I got to experience him backstage before he went on, and his everybody always asks me, what do you do before you go on? What do you do? Do you meditate? Do you do a prayer? Do you do? And I do. Right. There's certain little things I do. And of course, just the physical things. I warm up. I vocalize, correct? I have a whole thing that I've done for years. People don't understand. I studied operatically. And that was just tools that I knew would help me preserve this voiceover, and 30 years strong, 32 years strong. So amen.
Wow.
So Michael had this thing. They were at the time on the Bad Tour. If you saw and this was just the most compelling thing I ever saw. Never mind, they were hosing down the audience. This is when he loved pandemonium. He loved the crazy. The more crazy they were and fainting and passing out, this was pandemonium. They'd hose down the audience because they were sitting there out in arenas for hours. Wow. Crazy. And he'd film it all and then show it back to them, and they were like, they were falling out the windows of hotels. It was bananas.
Did he have some sort of a ritual himself that
the one thing I saw him do was backstage before going on, I started hearing like military drills. Like, and do you remember Michael was wearing a lot of those military jackets in that time?
Yeah.
He always had this uniform, whatever the uniform was, for the song, for Bad, for Thriller. He had a glove, a hat. He was that was Hollywood of the day. He found that one item. It's brilliant. But he was into the military thing at that time. I'll never forget. So he was backstage in the white socks, if you recall. So this would have been 89, but this was the Bad Tour. I even have the shirts from it. And he had like 4 or 5 militia backstage with him doing drills in formation behind stage before he ever hit the stage, chanting and building him up and giving him this energy and going, you know, 1, 2, 3, you know, and he was just like, he would be jogging in place with them, and then just, you know, and then what he did was he just ran on the stage because there's a ramp, it would, and they'd stop right at the bottom, and he kept running, and the stage just opens like this, and the lights, and it goes boom. You want to be starting something, got to be starting something. Gave me goosebumps then like crazy, and I have them now.
Wow.
It was the energy that he just built in that moment. Those 1 minute before that I just saw backstage was compelling. So he burst out there, and he does it and he did this. You remember when he used to do dirty?
Right. And open his
And
arms.
he had the white shirt blowing.
Right.
I mean, you will never forget these moments with Michael Jackson.
Wow.
Amazing. Can you reflect a little on your friendship with Prince as well? Because you talked about that a little.
I had the honor of meeting quite a few beautiful, incredible people in my journey in music, right? Some have been friends, some have been meetings, acquaintances, and some have been you know, some you wish you never met, really, quite frankly. And then some you've just developed friendships with. Prince was just warm. When I met him, I was with 2 other people that I was just finished a show, but I went to his concert. It was in Europe. It was in Frankfurt. And it was very flirtatious. He was very sexy and super funny. Let's just leave it at that. And this was in Europe. And then, of course, about a few weeks later, I was in Paisley Park in Minneapolis. So we'll leave it at that. But nothing happened that way. I just, you know, he just was like, I sang with him. We got up there. I mean, he's so generous he was so generous as an artist, and just, he loved talent. He was so confident and just so brilliant.
Such a loss to the music world. Such a loss. Tremendous loss.
He loved talent. That's why he loved you so much. I know that for sure.
It was mutual, I hope.
Wow.
And I got, you know, the privilege of watching him on tour many times and playing with Sheila and knowing Sheila so well, and other people that, you know, and other band members. And it's just, you know, and his ex-wife, Maite. So yeah, really amazing. But just, you can ask anybody universally, you know, we will all say Prince made such an impact on our musical, as you know.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder, I mean, it's like,
Right.
I can't even tell you, for me. As a child. And Michael Jackson, like, these are
people. I can.
Wow.
Beyond. They're still here.
Right.
Forever be
They'll
here.
always be here.
It changed everything. And because, you know, I was listening to a DJ today playing other stuff, and I mean, Jay-Z and other things, and everything was playing. And then they just got out of this beautiful song, Golden Lady, I want to go there. That's this old Stevie tune. And you just listen to his chord progressions and you're like, stop. Please go back. Let's hear more Stevie. Let's celebrate the birthday more. Yeah.
So practically all of your songs, we've noticed, have the word love in the title, practically all of them. And we wanted to know, being the yentas that we are you searching for true love today? I want you to know that I was really rooting for you to find that perfect man when I saw you on Millionaire Matchmaker on Bravo TV.
Do you know, I did. That guy was great. That gentleman, we dated for a while, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Joel, it was real. Like, we actually did go out, and he actually wanted a relationship. Like, to me, I was kind of hesitant because to me, it was just production, you know, it didn't. And I chose him because I authentically thought, well, of the bunch, he's, you know, a nice guy. But we actually had a really lovely relationship. He still has a relationship with my kids. He was really good. Really, really was a great guy. And I can tell you this, somebody asked me that question today in True Love. So I'm assuming you're dentist, so you're married.
Oh,
I defer.
you good one.
You guys call me this warrior woman and very strong and all these things. And yes, I am, but the same strength, that survival mechanism, it's a blessing and a curse because it has led me to have a lot of fear of losing control, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the safest, you know, growing and tooling and experiences growing up that way. So this whole idea of losing your shit, very much so. It's definitely experienced itself and shown itself in my love relationships. But the fear has definitely toned down. And now as a mom, as my kids are almost 18 now, I'm feeling this next place of true love and love for myself, and really this new chapter of I'm making room and very ready, getting very ready for it.
So your kids are 18 now? Are they seniors?
They are.
Oh, we have seniors, both Karen and I. It's so depressing. But I have a little one.
That's exactly the problem. They don't want to be home. They don't want to be here, and I don't blame them. And they barely are. They're not really hunkering down for quarantine the same way we are. The same.
Right.
They're just like want to go. They're like racehorses, and I don't blame them. And so it's been very difficult being locked in with them.
Right. Yeah. Taylor, I want to ask you. You performed, and you know so many artists. Who would you say, if you had to choose one artist that inspired you the most in your life? And I know it's a difficult question. Who would it be?
Well, at different moments, different artists. So in my early teens, like those really clutching moments of identifying who you are as a girl, as a woman, girl, teenager, it was Joni Mitchell. The albums from Blue and Ladies of the Canyon, Neil Young, they were singer-songwriters, you understand, and they are. And just, I've never heard lyrics written like Blue, songs are like tattoos, you know, or A Case of You. Just before I loved, I lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, constantly in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar. I mean, nobody writes like Joni Mitchell. Nobody.
Wow.
And of course, I would have to say as well would be Marvin Gaye and would be Stevie Wonder. And of course, the Michael Jackson that we all grew up on, because the Jacksons were everything. I mean, it depends on the time, but Joni Mitchell in that time. And then rock took over, you know, rock and roll, but it was mostly rhythm and blues artists. I would have to say the Stones, and I would say Paul Rodgers from Bad Company. I would say Led Zeppelin. I would say Robert Plant, and the style of them, a little bit more funky and swamp. ZZ Top.
What about Shaka Khan?
What about her? Amazing artist, a living icon, truthfully, just incredible to watch her. Effortless, which I understand. Yes, beautiful. Shaka's amazing. I mean, you know, tell me something good. 1978, where were you? You know, it was incredible.
Wow.
Elton John, these are all, you know, and incredible.
Right. I don't think that people realize that besides singing, dancing, acting, you do it all. You've even penned songs for famous artists like Tina Turner. I don't think so many people know that.
Well, what happens is you write for yourself, right? I wrote,
right.
The record company goes, you don't like it.
Her hit songs, you wrote it. You wrote whatever you want. And
whatever you want me to do. Yeah, it was a big record for her.
Was that intended for
Turner? Where do you go from there? Tina Turner.
Was that intended for yourself, do you think?
Yes.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Of course. So, I mean, I was an artist, so I would write, and then the record company would say, oh, we don't like it. We don't want it. No, that's not going on your record. And I was like, well, I really like it. And then, you know, you'd have your publishing company would farm it out. And Tina, she heard it. I mean, it was definitely in her style. There was another song I wrote that I did get to record, which was called I'll Wait, and it's similar, and she would have killed that too. But yeah, it was pretty fabulous when she did one of my songs. It was amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. You have a new singles released, such as Live Without.
Yeah.
What is the inspiration behind this song?
I love it. It's actually so fresh. It was released last year, so it's kind of got a summer vibe to me. And I was just listening to it today, and it's with not Avicii. There's this the last 10, 15 years with the DJs and the music and the club and getting back into a club and domination of dance music, which has been incredible because the production of it is enormous, and then you get the combination of what Daft Punk did, taking these iconic sounds from Nile Rodgers, from Paul Paul Williams, these sounds, these other, and collaborations, and then you're getting this fine-tuned Pharrell, for instance, and taking this fine-tuned, this top writers, this interesting melody choices of today with this ground funk and rhythm section that we all know and love, like Chic, right? All that stuff that we know from the 70s. Freak out, boom, 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 right? Well,
Oh yeah.
you know, Lucky, you know, all that stuff is that funky stuff. So we started to see this, even like Usher stuff. Yeah. You know, this is groundbreaking / pop moved coming from the club first, because basically it's definitely a club record, 100%. So has been nice over the last 10 years. And then you see the strength of all these DJs, you know, from Diplo to, like, of course, Avicii, who passed, God rest his soul, David Guetta, and having all these artists coming in, and great singers, and coming in on these, Calvin Harris, you know. So it's been a great way to I think I've loved pop music now for the last 10 years solid. I love it.
Awesome. What can our diehard fans expect from you in the future?
Well, we were just talking, you know, you just asked me about the last single I put out. So, you know, I recorded probably last year during this time with Live Without. So that was with not Avicii. I'm trying to think who I did that track with. I'm having a brain fart. But so collaborations of that nature. So I did about 10 songs with this duo called Zig and Nate, and we call it ZNT. And we're looking at, I was just talking to one of the producers today, and we're just trying to tweak it a little bit. So I'll drop another single, if not an EP, like maybe 3 songs from that project, because it's really funky and it feels right. It's like just in that spring, summer, it feels right about now. So new music. Do you think
you'll have any Vegas shows in the future? It's hard to
tell. I bet I have all shows in the future, but this isn't just me saying that. That is the entire industry. Of course, you know, we have to honor the new norm. I am honoring this. I'm staying home-ish, right? All work is, as we know it, has changed, and it's been debilitating on some levels, and scary, and you know, these are things we can't control. But I've then worked, you know, we have to be flexible. We have to be available to learn and be and pivot, and also change, right? So this is part of success. Success is also knowing when you need to reevaluate what you're doing. So how am I going to still reach fans? Through mediums like this, where we're talking to people. This is a very new audience for me, being with you yentas. But this is all part of, I'm talking the Taylor Dayne story with you because it moved you, and this will move other people. And this is our job now, is service, right? So I'll figure out a way to get through this time. And will it be Vegas? I'd love to do a residency in Vegas, Karen. That's what I'd love to do.
I would love that too.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. But the touring for now, I mean, we're all kind of going through it. Like every month we're kind of pushing back. So we're holding back dates now till August now.
Wow.
Taylor, you are so good that my 10-year-old, I told her that we are interviewing Taylor Dayne's 10, and she goes, Taylor Dayne, how did you get her? And she's like, you know her songs, and she knew some of your songs. So you know, yes, she's 10 years old and she loves music. So I was shocked because, you know, my middle one, the one graduating high school, knew who you are. Of course, my older one knows who you are. But when my 10-year-old knew who you are, I was so impressed. I'm like, okay, I'm like, now you know music.
No, because, you know, you can't take that personally. It's like, oh, do you know who? So, like, these kids don't know, like, unless it's happened on Snapchat and TikTok, we're lost to shit. We're nothing. So I'm like, okay, well, if she knows, and your girl is good. Thank you. What's her name?
Eliam.
I love you.
Taylor, so many mothers become single mothers not by choice. I'm like on my second marriage, so I know what it is, because my older one I had in my first marriage, and it, you know, I got divorced, and it wasn't by choice. It just didn't work out, so I filed for divorce. And then I got married. Now I'm married for 30 years. But you made a decision. And I, you know, even though it was hard, I really loved being a mom, but it wasn't by choice. It was really hard that something failed. You decided to have kids on your own, which is
I went for one. God decided I had twins.
Listen. Oh, right. I read that.
No, I just wanted, but it's true. I went I knew I was walking into it as a single parent, not by design because I wanted to, but my clock was ticking. I chose a marriage very early, which was to my career. And that is no joke. That is true. Unless you're married with somebody in the band or somebody that you're doing business with in your music industry, I know that was first and foremost for me. I was on the road for the first, from 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 20. I mean, you can't, that coming home making records. Yes, I had a lot of affairs. Yes, I had a lot of relationship-ish, but it was always on my terms or because of where my schedule took me. And that was worldwide. It wasn't just USA, it was worldwide. So relationships, yes. By marriage, by design, having children. I knew probably by about 32, I was ready to have something more than what I was doing. And I figured I'd reached the top on some level. It was weird at 30. And I go, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? This is, what am I supposed to feel? I had the mansion, I had the cars, I had the everything. And I'm sitting up top and I never felt more alone.
Wow.
So you can ask anybody that. And that goes back to the journey you do within. And that's really 30 was a moment and a time at 31. I remember my birthday present to myself was sitting in this mansion. I moved one of my best girlfriends in. She started managing the house. She was cooking, she was doing, and we started having women's retreats at my house, essentially. I paid for the house. I paid for the gardening. That was like on 4 acres. I paid for the horse and the barn and everything. And the pool and all the maintenance. But the point was, this was this safe place. And I had 9 bedrooms. And every weekend from Thursday to Friday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Lisa and a gang would move in. And whether I was on the road or not, I'd come home and there was life and stories and food. And
wow.
It was beautiful. And it was a safe place where so many hearts were broken. And yet at the same time, we all came there and healed each other through food, wine, drinks, conversation. And it was this ever changing, but ever broadening room of women and also friends. And then males came, men came kind of and went, and then some have stayed, and some are married and some are still married. But for me, I meant that. I was married to my career. I definitely was in relationships then. And only until I was 30 did I meet somebody that if you said was a true love, did I say, like, I knew I had gotten through a place in my life where I couldn't control this. Like, I was in love with somebody and I had to work on myself to be in this relationship. It didn't work out, but I learned a lot about myself.
Wow. How do you think motherhood changed you?
You're asking about a mother right now, like yourselves, that has kids that are graduating high school in COVID-19. It's 18. I'm learning what I'm learning now. This is the hardest. It's been the hardest year and a half now. This is the hardest year and a half. I did have children on my own. I went for 1 and went for 2. I had to hire a surrogate. I hired a surrogate. It was only legal here in California when I did this in 2000. And it was just a miracle I found out about it. I had massive surgery as a child. You can read this in the book on my kidney and bladder. I held all that pain and that fear and that rage in. And I was bleeding. So I never really thought I could carry a child without probably bleeding to death, if you will, or having some sort of major complications. It was just so painful. My urethra tubes were reimplanted back on my bladder and cut and resized and reshaped and back in. It was traumatic as a child, let alone the greatest gift is having my kids. It was the most meant to be experience and of my life. And I know that on a
You're going to make me cry.
What?
You're going to make me cry.
Because this on an emotional level. We're tied, but they are there. At this point, I'm learning now, like right now is the hardest because I'm letting go. I have to now, and they want to go. And I'm, my nervousness and fears and all it's so up for me right now. That's about as honest as I can get with you.
All transitions are very hard.
Well, my daughter wrote me on Mother's Day, this Mother's Day, my oldest one, she wrote me that your entire life, she realized now, she just graduated medical school. She said that she realized now, because she's moving to another state, and I was crying, and one is graduating, moving to college, And she said that we build a nest for them, and we always try for them not to fall. That's what we try. And as a mother, she said now she realizes that it's not the hard work. It's that we realize with the years that in order for them to fly, we have to make them fall first. They have to fall in order to learn how to fly. And she said, Mom, as much as I love you, I have to fly now. Thank you for giving me that space to come back to. So she said the best thing we can give them is that home to come back to. So, but I still cried.
Yeah.
I understand that. I understand that more than you know today than I did yesterday. And I'm going through it because I'm doing this. There's an extraction. My own daughter doesn't want to stay here. She wants to go quarantine with her friends. So they're already starting the extraction. Not that I didn't condone it, but this is this little control we really have. They're 18 and it's very
Emotional.
yeah. And it's also those buttons, you know, as a mom. So you asked me what I'm learning now forgiveness and letting go and going back into looking at me. So maybe true love is a good place to start with myself.
We're rooting for you.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So anyway, I want to end this with a quote, one quote that you said, and I just wanted to ask you about this.
Sure.
You were quoted as saying, my current mantra is that sometimes we need teachers in our lives. I never had that in my life, parents and stuff like that. I tried to stay on the outside of them or anybody that had that kind of influence, end of quote. Why did you feel the need to stay on the outside of that?
Well, let me redefine that for you. So what I'm really saying is I saw enough as a child. At 6 years old, I was sitting outside our apartment building and the rage and the anger and the things. And I just said, thank you, radio. Thank you, God. Thank you, music. I'm going to use this and I'm going to keep using this. And I will hold everything inside, not let anything hurt me anymore because parents aren't safe. Brothers aren't safe. Family doesn't feel safe here. So I'm going to just hold everything in, which obviously backfired. I started having surgery by 5 and 6. But all I could do was control me, right? And that was what I did. I didn't do it with food. I did it with my emotions, with my feelings. And music was my salvation, right? It was my mantra. It was a tool that I was good at, but I grew at it. And it was also the seed, my divine gift, right? That one gift I received that I explored expansively. But the controlling part of it is part of the, unfortunately part of the growing and losing, and conquering fear. That's really been my greatest, the fear of being controlled. As I said, I blocked my parents out, my brothers, my this, because it was too painful. Mm-hmm. So when I mean a teacher, now I'll have like we're going to be just talking about my children. I just have a girlfriend living here now for the last couple of days with me, and she's a yogini. And so she's just cooking for me, just in my home, or lighting incense and just candles and just reminding me, okay, your soul knows how to go down and relax and be still and don't get caught up in the waves because they're caught up in like no answers, no school, no this, blah, 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 crazy.
Right.
And I can go crazier because I'm like, who really has more? Who's really, are we comparing anxiety issues right now? So I'm just like, I can't get into their wave. And that's what they want you to do, get in the wave or just leave their wave. And yet they just want to hand you a broken list of things to repair. That's where it gets hard not to be a mother. That's where I have my issue.
Wow. Wow.
So does that make sense? So I want my kids to love me and want to come home to a nest, just like you're saying. But at the same time, I don't want to, a controlling nest is never good either,
Right. Absolutely. You have to
but maybe a soft place to fall, as you would say.
Right.
Fall they may, fall they must, actually. And I didn't really get that. Right. I was falling. Don't get me wrong. At their age, I guess I was falling. But to me, I was propelling myself out since I was 7, 8, 9, 10. I was like, got to get out of here. This isn't safe. Got to get out of here. That's basically my definition of what you're discussing about teachers. So my teachers now are girlfriends I built, as I told you, I learned at a very young age because I built a sanctuary within my own home and didn't even know it.
Wow.
In the day, right? And I realized all these women in these stories, they mean something. Let's treasure them. And we all do. We're all still friends. This is over 30 years now.
It's great.
great.
This is after fame for me. And some of these women know me pre-fame. So this is this, you know, I was a kid and they were maybe older, and I started with, you know, we started with our spiritual practices. Listen, this is our spiritual journey, you know? So these practices that we met on that common ground became this home. I had a place that could facilitate it, and people that came and then did it through food, love, dance, music, money, my home, a place to do it safely.
Well, there is nothing like girlfriends. Nothing like really good and true friendship. So,
Nothing.
Taylor, we would love to invite you for Shabbat dinner at our houses.
I would be honored to come.
Really, and get to know you on a personal level. I want to thank you so much for taking the time and joining us. I want to tell our followers, before I talk to our followers, I want to tell you that as a woman, you inspire me. You're authentic and you are so courageous. In the path that you took, you know, we've been following you over the years, and both Karen and I are very strong women, and we appreciate strong women. And a lot of people look at strong women and go, oh, wow, they don't know that inside we're sometimes weak, and it's not so easy to be courageous. And you really inspire us, not just by your music, but by the person that you are and the choices that you made in your life. And we know it was not easy choices most of the times. So we would love to get to know you on a personal level. For our followers, please buy the book. It's the autobiography of Taylor Dayne, Tell It to My Heart, How I Lost My Shit and Conquered Fear and Found My Voice.
It kind of looks like that. That's the shit kind of has an SH.
Right. It's funny. Taylor, it's really funny because they said, say blip. And I said, no, I'm going to say shit. And they go, don't say it. And I said, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. We would like to thank all our followers for listening to this episode. Please remember, you also can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Yentes in the City. You can also write us at dearyentes@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you and answer your letters on our weekly advice column. We would like to thank our team, Frank and Sharon, and special thanks to Eva for all the behind the scenes to bring this episode to us.
Thank you, Eva. Yeah.
We would like to thank our sponsors, Soft Smart System International and Conquest Realty Investments. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We have a lot more coming. Until next time, this is Etty Elkis and Karen Cohen, and we are Yentes in the City. We love you, Taylor.
I love you back, and I'm so honored.